doesn't even look like water. It looked like paint, how thick the algae is on the lake. Those algal blooms can really affect human health. It's only going to get worse with climate change. Bigger storms on the prairies, increasing the runoff into the Lake Winnipeg watershed, and flood mitigation projects like the Portage Diversion and the Lake St. Martin Channel that bypass natural filters and just funnel all those pollutants into the lake.
We can't ignore the issues facing Lake Winnipeg. It is a jewel of our province. It's one of the largest lakes in Canada, and we're lucky to have it here in Manitoba. Blue-green algae blooms can be big green slimy waves that wash up on the beach, and they occur on Lake Winnipeg primarily in the summer and early fall. And the blue-green algae is fed by phosphorus running off the land and into our waterways. That comes from wastewater, agriculture, and background natural sources. And with warming summer months, we're going to see an increase in these harmful algae blooms on Lake Winnipeg.
The water is not the same as it used to be. That's something that's a cumulative effect of different changes in our world over the last 100 years. The algal blooms are a concern within our community. It affects the fishermen. They don't catch as much fish. You can't use the lake in recreational ways.
Over the last decade, we've seen increases in these potentially harmful algae blooms on the lake. It really reduces the health of the freshwater and the usability of that water.
Because of that degradation that's happening, our health is affected majorly. Our physical health and our mental health.
These algae, they're actually bacteria, and these harmful algal blooms can make you sick because the bacteria will release a toxin. So if you swim in the water and accidentally swallow some, you can get sick. But also just on skin contact with that toxin, you can also get sick from just going in the water.
From an Indigenous perspective, when we talk about health, you have to think holistically. It's not just getting sick from a waterborne disease. The fact that we can't practice our inherent rights to use our land to feed ourselves, that affects us in so many ways. The mental health, but also the rates of diabetes, high blood pressure, all this stuff is connected. With the increasing water temperature, it'll just increase the algal blooms, waterborne illnesses, and things like that.
With increased temperatures and heat waves, I think you're going to see more and more people start to use the beaches. So it's very important that people are aware of possible risks of illness and avoid going in the water when they're present.
We can expect that with a warming climate, the challenges facing Lake Winnipeg are going to become more intense and severe. The watershed spans from the Rocky Mountains in Alberta to just east of Thunder Bay and includes portions of the United States. And so when we think about the watershed, everything can seem really overwhelming. Like, how are we going to improve the health of this giant watershed to reduce phosphorus loading to Lake Winnipeg? I'm hopeful that we can improve the state of water quality. We know what's causing algae blooms. We know that it's phosphorus. The Lake Winnipeg Community-Based Monitoring Network is a network of citizen scientists and watershed partners working to reduce phosphorus in the watershed. We sample at small streams and rivers to identify phosphorus hotspots, areas that contribute more phosphorus on average than other areas. This data can then be used to target resources, funding, and projects to these hotspot areas where they'll have an impact.
We're on the land and we see the changes, and we need to educate ourselves on how those changes are going to affect us. We do have the knowledge of the elders, and we need to work with scientists to understand the causes of these changes and work to figure out ways that we can avoid the worst of the changes.
We have a lot of great researchers in Canada looking at all aspects of climate change impacts of health. It's going to be very challenging, but I hope that we will be able to respond to these changes, kind of minimize the negative health effects.
With the changing climate, it makes it just all the more important to reduce the phosphorus loads and address climate change. And we really have to, if we want to have a healthy lake, we have to address climate change.